What is up, everybody? Welcome into this Thursday episode of Flippin Bats. We got a great one for you today. Making a statement. We got a lot of statements. Is Luis Arraez going to hit 400 on the season? Alec Manoah was demoted down to the Florida Complex League. Will that help him or hurt him? Jacob deGrom out for the year with Tommy John. Got some thoughts there as well. BVP. Top 5 players in the league right now to this point in the year, and so much more. This one's going to be fun. Let's get to it.
It's a ball out, 8th inning, 10-3. Bases are loaded for Verlander, who waits on a 3-0 pitch. He swings, and it's a high fly ball, deep center field. It is gone! Home run! And a huge bat flip to celebrate. All right, Ben, start the show already.
What is up, my friends? Happy Thursday to everybody. It's been a great week so far. We've had a lot of good stuff this week.
Yep.
Ken Rosenthal joined yesterday.
Great episode.
It's never too early to talk trade deadline. You know?
Well, no, because you can, realistically, you can make the trade now. You're just not going to get, as Ken mentioned, you might be overpaying and
Pay a bit of a premium.
Yeah, pay a little bit of a premium, and who knows, there might be another injury in a month or two that you need to address. So it's always tricky. Like, when do you do it?
Alex, I'm going to be honest, and we're going to talk about this guy in a little while and probably a lot throughout the rest of the year, but I find myself right now watching baseball so excited to watch the Cincinnati Reds.
I think everyone was. I think the world was watching
Elly
Elly
De La Cruz is so
Electric.
fun. He's so
Electric.
excited. I'm loving watching Reds baseball right now.
Yeah.
Who knew that would be said at this point in this year? And they have guys still to come. I'm so high on the Reds. I didn't even mean to talk about the Reds. I'm so high on the Reds. I love the Reds.
I mean,
future.
they walked off twice on the Dodgers.
Yep.
And Elly De La Cruz had an epic first game, but his second game was even better.
Yep.
Like, it's fun to watch.
But we have to talk Jacob deGrom first, Alex. Jacob deGrom, some heartbreaking news. Out for the year, Tommy John surgery. Out for the majority, if not all, of next season. This sucks. $185 million, 5-year contract, and this is a man that is the most dominant pitcher in the sport when healthy. A pitcher that legitimately, I think, could have been, and this is could have been in the conversation for greatest pitcher of all time if you give him a full, healthy season every year he's able to pitch, which I understand we can't always do that. But if that were the case, we're talking about a guy that is certainly dominant enough to be in the conversation of best of all time. And to get this news after not pitching for a bit, to get the news, and I don't know if you saw the interview he did after, but tears in his eyes, emotional, heartbreaking to watch. Just imagine being one of the most dominant pitchers of all time, and not only just having the narrative of being a guy that gets injured all the time, but it continuing to happen to you. I can't imagine. So I guess the last thing I want to say about this right now is, if you're one of those people out there talking about, well, he's walking into the sunset with his money, or who cares, he's wiping his tears away with $185 million. Screw you. Seriously. Like, this is a human that is clearly so emotional and so affected by this. I can't imagine knowing that you are one of the best of all time, but you can't go out there and compete and show the world that, and to just pull out your inner competitor. It just is it's a sucky situation, and it's been tough to watch over the last couple of days.
I mean, this was kind of the biggest concern, though, coming into the season.
Definitely.
Can deGrom stay healthy with this 5-year, $185 million contract that he got in December? And we kind of saw a little foreshadowing even in spring training when he was shut down for a couple of days. Then he had the inflammation on the IL. We didn't totally know what was going on. And then, of course, this comes out, and really crazy timing, especially with you talking about it yesterday, saying that the Rangers are a World Series team if deGrom is back and healthy. So not only is it heartbreaking for deGrom, who is one of the biggest competitors out there. When you're one of the greatest in the game, all you want to do is play. All you want to do is win. That is why you are at the top of your game. But then also for the Rangers that put all their eggs in this basket to get deGrom and believed that he could help get them there. I mean, thankfully, their pitching staff has stepped up like unbelievably without deGrom there this season. But again, it's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
It's heartbreaking.
I mean, you mentioned foreshadowing this year. The truth is there's been foreshadowing for this moment for a long time.
Yeah.
You know, like it's not just this year, last year, the year prior. Like I think they're almost two different questions. Of course, this was a risky signing.
Yeah.
We talked about it the day he signed. Like, that's a lot of money and a lot of years for a player that is as injury riddled as he is and struggles to stay on the field. But I do understand where they were coming from, but I think this was always meant to be. This was always a risky signing, and this is the result that I think it's not a shock to people, but that doesn't make it any less sad or frustrating.
Yeah.
You know, it's just it's you know, I really believe, you know, that conversation that people, sports fans have across every sport of like, if you could pick one player all time to gift a full healthy career and let them do it all over again,
That's a
who would
thing?
it be? What?
That's a thing?
Yeah.
Oh, I've never heard that before.
Yeah,
I love
and
that.
the answers are like Bo Jackson.
Yeah.
And Jacob deGrom is becoming,
Oh, yeah.
sadly,
Definitely.
one of the answers to that question. It would be an answer for me. Like,
Yeah.
I would give me a full, healthy Jacob deGrom season with his career as dominant as he is, and what could he possibly do? But yeah, definitely a question. Like,
I've never heard. I love that though.
Yeah.
I've actually never like had that conversation.
Yeah, it's a great conversation.
I'm like, that might be a segment
one
we need
player,
to do.
any sport,
Yeah.
entire career, you could gift a healthy career. Who would it be? You know, and I think it's a great conversation.
It is. And it's unfortunate because when you actually think about this is a 1 year at least recovery, probably 2 till you're back to your full form self. So, you know, we just wish him all the best, a speedy, healthy recovery. And
Yeah.
mentally, I hope he stays in it because that's the toughest part.
Yep. Definitely.
Especially when you deal with these. All right. Well, let's move on to some statements here, okay? And our first statement actually kind of ties into this last conversation we were just having. Now, I'm going to give you the statement. You tell me if you agree with it or you don't.
Okay.
You ready for it?
Mm-hmm.
Our first statement. The Rangers are still a playoff team without Jacob deGrom.
Oh, definitely. I agree with that. You mentioned it in the episode I just did with Ken. We talked about the Rangers a lot, and I said this Rangers team is a World Series team, but
Yeah.
that's heavily dependent on, and the timing sucked,
Yeah.
on Jacob deGrom being healthy for a playoff push. And they're absolutely a playoff team still. I mean, they're coming off a series where last week we saw them, a few days ago, we saw them play the Seattle Mariners, who have one of the best pitching staffs in baseball. They outscored the Mariners 30-9. Like, offensively, this team is light years above the majority of the league. And yeah, you know what? Jacob deGrom going down, there's not a world in which it's beneficial for the Rangers team. But there are guys that have stepped up that make me believe this team is absolutely still a playoff team. They're absolutely still capable of doing damage in the playoffs. And Ken said, of every team that we talked about, I said, what team do you think is going to be the most aggressive at the trade deadline? Without hesitation, the Rangers. So let's still look to see them add something at the trade deadline.
Mm-hmm.
But Nate Eovaldi,
Oof.
he has the 5th best ERA in all of baseball this year. He's been the best pitcher in baseball over the last month plus. He's been lights out. John Gray, 7th best ERA in the game of baseball, coming off of a start last night where he struck out 12 guys. They end up losing the game 1-0, but he absolutely dominated the game. They're 40-21 still, and hey, the majority of that is without Jacob deGrom.
Yep.
Let's not act like this news comes on, deGrom got hurt and now he's out for the year. deGrom has been hurt.
Yep.
And this new news is that he's now not going to come back. But the majority of this damage that the Rangers have done has been without Jacob deGrom. Absolutely, the Rangers are still a playoff team.
All right. That's fair.
Yep.
Okay. Our next statement. Alec Manoah's demotion will help him reset.
I struggle with this.
Okay.
So Alec Manoah was demoted to the Florida Complex League, which is formerly known as the GCL. I struggle with this. Okay. So we've talked a lot about Alec Manoah over the last couple to weeks.
Yeah.
And something needed to happen. And I don't disagree that this was the play. I don't know why they sent him to the Florida Complex League. I almost think like AAA might have been better, but let me explain. Alec Manoah clearly is dealing with mechanical issues, walks are way up, and when I talked to John Smoltz about this, naturally you're going to deal with the mentality of this situation and mental struggles. You can't not.
Yeah.
And what John said about this is mechanically, it appears this year he's only able to pitch to one side of the plate. He's almost lost the ability to pitch to both sides, as we've been able to see Alec Manoah do. So naturally, when that happens, the mental aspect creeps in right there. But we're talking about a guy with over a 6 ERA this season, got beat up again against the Astros, only got 1 out in that game, got hit around before he was taken out. And the conversation became, what do? You can't keep throwing him out there. So they send him down, which I don't disagree with. Mm-hmm. But here's where my thought is, right? Baseball is the most mentally taxing sport there is. Yep. I mean, if you're struggling, I was an offensive guy professionally. I hit. If I failed 70% of the time for my entire career, I would be a Hall of Famer. 70% of the time. The human brain isn't meant to understand failure, to deal with failure in a good way.
Well, it's a game of failures. Baseball is a game of failures. So it's like trying to trick your mind to believe that 30% is great.
Right. So now we're dealing with a pitcher who it's a little bit different with the mentality because offensively it's a different aspect with how much you're failing. With a pitcher, though, the mentality and the mindset is still there. So now you're sending him down to the lowest league in professional baseball. And that in itself mentally is not good on you. It's not a good thing. So let's say he goes down there and dominates players that are in the Florida Complex League. Well, he should.
Yeah.
So if he dominates, it's like, yeah, you should. And if you get beat around, it makes it even worse. Mm-hmm. That's why I almost think AAA would have been the better play here because AAA players are like, they're pretty close to big leaguers. Really, most levels in them. I don't know if that was the move. But mentally, this game beats you up so much. And nobody has more experience struggling professionally than me. I had really good times. I had really bad times. I saw the worst of the worst. I experienced it. I had a many 0 for 4s in my careers. I was the most streaky player you could possibly find. I was Florida State League Player of the Month, and they don't give this award out, but I was the worst Florida State League Player of the Month as well one month. And
I don't mean to laugh.
Sorry. And I know it. And then I go home and I would legitimately not know how to carry myself.
Yeah.
And one of my good friends who ended up becoming a big leaguer, I saw him go home and scream bloody murder into a pillow at night. Mm-hmm. Baseball struggles. The mentality is something you almost have to learn how to deal with. And Alec Manoah is learning how to deal with that now, but they're sending him down to the Florida Complex League. This is a long roundabout answer of saying I hope this helps him.
Yeah.
But I'm not so sure sending him down to the Complex League is the answer. But they had to do something.
They had to do something.
I don't know they had to do something. So I guess this was the answer. In a perfect world, I think maybe AAA, but I can't knock this. So we'll see.
It's tough because baseball, it's every day. You have to have an extremely short memory. As the great Ted Lasso said and gave advice, be a goldfish. Just let it go and keep going. It's the only way to survive mentally in this game.
Yeah, it is. That's a good callback there with Ted Lasso.
I know. I'm a little sad it's all over.
I'm
going to be honest. I cried. I cried in the last episode. It's okay. We can talk about that later.
Yeah, that'll be a different episode for a different day. The Ted Lasso episode.
Let's move on to our next statement.
Okay.
The Yanks will hold steady without Aaron Judge.
So Judge goes down due to that play in Dodger Stadium.
Which I made the comment like, well, at least he didn't get hurt.
Yeah. Well,
Now he's hurt.
Well,
he's
he
on the
did.
10-day IL.
Yeah, 10-day IL. Minimum, I would say. I was listening to Aaron Boone talk about this.
Okay.
Had a little bit of a slip. I don't know if it was accidental, but they were talking about Judge, and he said, "We'll see. You know, he's pretty sore. We'll see how he feels in the coming weeks." Days. I mean, days.
Yeah.
And like really had to, you know, like, and then you hear he has a sprained ligament in his toe. He got a shot. He's still very sore. I hope it's 10 days. But that's where the injury came, when he crashed into the wall in right field at Dodger Stadium. The answer to the question, will the Yanks hold steady? They play the Red Sox twice, 2 series, 1 home, 1 on the road, and the Mets on the road. Not easy matchups, but also not teams that are playing at the best of their ability currently. What I will say is last time we saw Aaron Judge go down earlier this year, a couple weeks ago, the Yankees didn't play very well during that
4
stretch.
and 6.
4 and 6 during that stretch. And unfortunately for the Yankees, if you're in the AL East and you get swept in a series,
Yeah.
you're going to mess around and look up and be in last place in the division. So will they hold steady? I don't know. This might be a cop-out of an answer. I'm going to say I don't know, but they can't afford to not hold steady.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. You lose 2 of these 3 series in the AL East, you lose 2 of the 3, 2 of them being to the Boston Red Sox, you're going to be in last place in the AL East. So I do worry. Aaron Judge is this Yankees offense. I guess I'll give you a real answer. I'm worried about the Yankees holding steady without Aaron Judge. They need Aaron Judge. He is that offense. 4 and 6 without him in the offense. That was without Giancarlo Stanton, I will say. So at least they have him. But I do worry about them.
But they also have, their pitching has been okay. They have Garrett Cole, who's like kind of found his groove again. So
Garrett Cole is one of the best pitchers in baseball, and found his groove, pitched well in Los Angeles. Actually, John Smoltz was on that call, and I talked to Smoltz every single Saturday. And this coming Saturday, so in a couple of days, we talked about Garrett Cole and his transition, if you will, his revamp as a pitcher from what we saw in Pittsburgh, the type of pitcher he was. And Smoltz talks about how he just revamped his entire career, really, by becoming a different pitcher. It really was a fascinating conversation. So let's play that now.
What I saw in Garrett Cole was clean mechanics, the ability to throw strikes, and you could teach him other things. He could learn other things, and he certainly did. And, man, I mean, the record, the statistics, the numbers, they've all gone through the roof.
Yeah.
And it's not, like you said, just to blame the organization that was having him do X, Y, Z. It's just more information and more he expanded in his career as he got older.
I like this. Not to blame the Pirates, but like kind of to blame the Pirates.
It's a little different from the Yankees. Yeah. And I love to hear that someone absorbs things and is a great and easy learner. So that's always great. All right. Let's move on to our next statement.
Okay.
Tonight's game is a must-win for the Mets. And your brother, Justin, is on the mound.
Yes. Look. It's June 8th. I hate calling baseball games where there's 162 in June a must-win. However, if there ever were a must-win game in the month of June, this kind of feels like it. Are the Mets going to be okay? Like, are the Mets done if they lose this game? No. But it is certainly demoralizing to lose the first 2 games of this series in the way they have, blowing leads. They've had a lead in both of them and blown them both. Lose the first 2 games. Now you have Justin on the mound for game 3. You're 7.5 games out of first place only a half game up on the Phillies, who are in 4th place. Can we talk about the Marlins? By the way, we have been. Let's put some respect on the Marlins' name. They're a half game out of being in 4th place. Yeah. I mean, why not say this is a must-win game for the Mets? You can't get swept at this point with playing this poorly. You're 500, below 500. You just like, come on. This is, you can't do this. You can't get swept here in the way that they have. It's not like they've been getting the doors blown off of them. You've had 2 leads. You've blown 2 leads. That's even more demoralizing than getting blown out in this series. So Justin is on the mound tonight for Game 3. Justin against Spencer Strider. What a matchup.
Such a great game.
What a series this has been. So look, I mean, the technical answer, if you were to ask me technically, is this a must-win game? No. But does my mind say this is a must-win game? Absolutely. Like, what? Come on. Yes.
But these are the series that at the end of this season, when you might be a game or 2 out of a wild card spot or out of that first place spot in the division, especially with a divisional matchup where you're probably going to be neck and neck towards the end of the season, these are the ones you look back on and you're like, I can't believe we blew those 2 leads in the 2 games, because it's like losing double.
Oh, yeah. No,
that's why it's so important.
I'm a big, you get 162 and they all matter equally. Like, I hate hearing early in the season, like, it doesn't really matter. It's just one game. No, you get 162. And at the end of the day, somebody's going to win more than the other team, and it might be by a half a game, or it won't be by half a game if everybody plays 162. But it could be by 1 game, and they all matter. So, is this a must-win? Sure.
Yeah. Hey.
Yeah.
All right. And can we get some like live content on you if I text you like during your brother pitching?
Have you not learned about texting me during Justin's
love it so
pitching?
much.
We'll get a life update in tomorrow's episode. We'll talk about the game. But yeah, just, maybe after would be a good, maybe
or
after.
During.
Nobody in my life texts me when Justin is pitching. Nobody. He threw fantastic last game. He threw really well last game. And my parents called me immediately after, and we were all like out of breath. It was like a 1-0. They ended up losing the game 1-0.
But he
great. Dominated, threw great. That last inning, there were multiple guys on base, and he got the last out on like his 115th pitch. Most pitches by a starting Mets pitcher this year at the time. And literally gets the last out. I haven't talked to anybody in like 2.5 hours. And I look down and my dad's calling, and we're all like, oh, thank God it's over. So, yeah, I don't do well with text during it. So maybe after. Maybe that's a learning. Maybe right when he comes out.
Will she learn? Does she learn? No. Okay, let's move on to our next statement. Luis Arraez will hit 400 this season. Ben, he's currently batting .403.
Yeah.
He's been consistently around 400 so far this season.
Yeah, he's batting .403. .403. The National League is collectively batting .250. Like, I mean, it's remarkable.
Yeah.
Does he hit 400 for the season? I'm gonna say no.
Dream big, Ben. Dream big.
You
gotta believe.
No, those are 2 different questions. I want him to hit 400. I will dream big. I want Luis Arraez to hit 400 for the season. You also have to be a bit realistic. Do I think he does hit 400 for the entire season? Tony Gwynn never hit 400 for an entire season. Only 12 players have finished a season with an average over 370 since 1941. Ted Williams is the only one to hit 400 in the season, and that was in 1941. That's been I don't know, that's been almost 100 years.
So where would you rank that level of difficulty to end this season batting 400?
At this day and age?
Yeah.
In this day and age, with pitchers the way they are, level of difficulty?
Like, I don't know. Give me a scale. Things to do in the game?
What's a scale? 1 to 10, it's a 10. Okay. 1 to 1,000,000, it's a 999.
Would you say it's the hardest thing to do?
In baseball?
Yeah.
It is up there with the hardest thing in baseball to do, in sports to do. I mean, especially in this day and age. I mean, there's just in 2008, I remember this because in 2008, Chipper Jones, at this point in the season,
Yeah.
beginning of June, was hitting 420. 420 at this point. He ended up hitting 363 on the year. Tony Gwynn, who's one of those 12, in what year was it? In 1997, he ended up hitting 372 on the year. Tony Gwynn never hit 400 in a season. I mean, is he going to hit 400 the whole year? I will dream big and say, boy, that would be great. I hope so. But if you're legitimately asking me the answer to this question, I can't say yes.
All right.
400?
I'm happy you said this after you talked to Luis Arraez.
Luis Arraez is coming on, is next Wednesday's
so
guest,
excited.
by the way. And we talk about, we're going to talk about hitting. That's what, you have a guy like Luis Arraez on who's hitting 400. You got to talk hitting. And I am so excited for everybody to hear that conversation. So Wednesday's guest episode, next Wednesday, Luis Arraez. 12 players since 1941 have hit over 370.
Oof.
I think if that were, I would say yes.
You'd say yes over 370, but you're saying no for 400.
And even that's crazy.
All right.
400 is like bonkers. Do people still say bonkers?
Sure.
Bonkers.
Sure.
Okay.
If you're like 50. All right. Let's get to our final statement. Probably the most exciting statement.
Okay.
Elly De La Cruz will be one of the greatest Reds of all time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love Elly De La Cruz.
I think everyone does.
I love him. I mean, he's come up. He in his very first game. Let's see. He starts with a long walk in his first career at bat. Next at bat, hits a ball well above the strike zone for a double. He hit that pitch harder than any Cincinnati Red has hit a pitch all year long. It's also the hardest hit ball that high in the strike. Well, it wasn't a strike. That high in StatCast era. Nobody has hit a ball that high, that hard. His first career hit, well, guess what? He did it. Codify tweeted this. This Elly De La Cruz homer, he hit a homer in game 2. It almost went out of Great American Ballpark. Elly De La Cruz homer, 143 feet off the ground, and was picked up by the radar at the airport. Now, I don't know if that's true.
I mean, that would be funny.
I don't think that's true. But, like,
I'm gullible. I'll believe it.
first career homer, almost out of Great American Ballpark. And then triples. And then his home to second time. Let's just talk about his time home to second base on his double. The fastest home to second time for the Cincinnati Reds. He has in the minor leagues, he had the hardest thrown ball across the infield of anybody in professional baseball. He is the fastest player. He had the hardest hit ball in professional baseball. His home to third time was 10.83 seconds. That's the fastest in baseball this season in the major leagues. He's breaking StatCast 2 games into his major league career. He's 6'5". He's a Gold Glove caliber shortstop, plays an incredible defense. He's fast. He hits balls out of the stadium. This isn't a real player. He's not real. He should not exist. He's tall. He's fast. He'll hit for average. He'll hit for power. He has a rocket for an arm. He plays great defense. 5 at-bats into his MLB career. Elly De La Cruz has registered the Reds' 2 hardest hit balls of the season, the Reds' 2 fastest sprint speeds, the Reds' longest home run of the season, and Major League Baseball's fastest home to third time. This is a video game character. He is already becoming one of my favorite players in the league. This is remarkable what we are seeing. He is a superstar. He's a megastar. The game of baseball needed him to come up. He finally did. And I would struggle to imagine a better start to a career than what we've seen.
And the best part is he's having fun. He's throwing up the 44 after the home run. The kid who got his home run ball, like that almost left the ballpark, he ended up bringing him and all of his friends down into the clubhouse, gave him signed balls, took photos with all of them. And then I loved his quote after the game. He said this whole team has some kind of vibe, a really positive vibe. It's a kind of vibe that's going to the World Series. So he's already thinking, he's coming in and he's kind of changing the mindset and the mentality of the team and the energy of the team. Like immediately, everybody was watching the Reds games, the Dodgers-Reds games the last couple of days because of him.
Yeah.
He is someone that will make you turn on your TV and watch a Reds game.
You know, I've been excited about this Reds team since before the call-up.
I know.
We literally talked. The timing was uncanny. You asked me, should he? I said, this guy needs to be called up.
Yes.
And then that day,
He did.
either that day
It
or
was
the next
perfect.
day, he was called up. And then Strand in the minor leagues. I've
Yeah.
called for him to. The talent is not stopping. I'm so excited about the future of this Reds team, and I don't know how many people in the world are saying that, but I really am, and Elly De La Cruz is a big part of it. To answer your question, will he be one of the greatest Reds of all time? That question becomes tricky because the Reds have a statement.
So, like,
Yeah.
it could be.
Okay. That to give a proper answer, this question becomes tricky with the Cincinnati Reds, Big Red Machine, Joe Morgan, Johnny Bench, Barry Larkin, who's not exactly a Big Red Machine, but Pete Rose. Like, there's so many names. But one of my good friends one time, Alex Curry, once told me to dream big.
Yeah!
And I am going to dream big and say that Elly De La Cruz will be one of the greatest Reds of all time.
I love that.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's the energy and positivity we need today. And that wraps up our statements, which means we are now moving to your BVP this week. Yeah, your most valuable players this week. We got one new player on the list this week. He's not new to the BVP, but he's back on the list this week at number 5, Yordan Alvarez.
Yordan Alvarez, he's back. I think he was on it earlier in the year.
He was. 2 weeks ago, he was at number 4.
Oh, well, there you have it. Yordan is back on the list. Number 5, 274 on the year, but he leads Major League Baseball in RBIs. 55 RBIs already on the year, 17 homers. Hit a couple mammoth homers over the last week. Yordan is doing Yordan things, and I have to believe that average is going to continue to tick up, but I really do. I think Yordan will end up leading the league in RBIs this year.
Ooh.
He's on a good offense.
Hot take.
He's clutch. We saw that firsthand in the World Series.
Yes, we did.
Already leading the league in RBI, and he's here at number 5 on the list of top 5 BVP.
All right. At number 4, holding strong at number 4, Freddie Freeman.
Freddie Freeman is still on a tear. 328, 11 homers, 39 RBIs, 52 runs scored so far this year. That average is remarkable. Mm-hmm. It really is. The power numbers might not be up amongst the league's elites right now, but to me that doesn't really matter. If you're going to hit 328 still, I mean, he's on pace for, just under 30 homers right now? If you were to tell me this guy's going to hit 330 with 30 homers, that's an MVP type year. Are you kidding me?
Is.
The big grand slam against the fighting Cincinnati Reds the other day, now it wasn't enough to hold off the juggernaut Cincinnati Reds. They ended up putting on the comeback and winning that game. But big home run, big grand slam. I don't even know how he hit that pitch out. I watched Freddie Freeman just in awe. We were at the Dodgers game the other day, and as we were leaving, we're not the kind of fans that leave early.
No, bottom of the 8th inning.
Bottom
They
8,
were
they
up.
were like 2 outs. It wasn't a close game. Nationals, and I was like, we'll watch Freddie Freeman hit.
One more at bat.
We'll watch Freddie hit, and then we'll head out. Home run. Oppo. Signature
Epic.
Freddie Freeman. I love Freddie Freeman. He's a number 4.
Same. All right. At number 3, also holding strong, Aaron Judge.
Aaron Judge, despite now being back on the IL, so his second IL stint on the year, Aaron Judge let's just be honest. From the time he came off the IL to when he went back on, probably the best player, if not, certainly top 2 players in the game of baseball. 291 on the year, 19 homers, 40 RBIs, and OPS over 1,000. I will say, the IL stints are going to if you look at the grand scheme of things over 162, the IL stints, so we're now going to be talking about at minimum 20 games on the IL out of 162. He's going to fall behind in some statistical categories, home runs, etc. Home runs, RBIs. I don't even know why I add that in there.
You said it
a
weird,
cornucopia, a cornucopia of
Et
stats,
cetera.
a plethora of stats he's
Yeah,
gonna fall
keep
behind
going.
in. I'm running out of synonyms. Yeah, I think he's clearly a top 5 player in the game of baseball right now. But we need him healthy. But he's here at number 3.
All right, number 2, also holding strong, Ronald Acuna Jr.
These numbers are comical.
Yeah.
331 on the season, 28 stolen bases, 12 home runs, tack on 33 RBIs to that. I mean, still right on pace to be the only player in Major League Baseball history to have a 30-60 season. 30 homers, 60 stolen bases. Never been done before, ever, in history. He could be the first to do it. So he's here at number 2.
And at number 1, still Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah. I mean, offensively, he's there, like in the same hemisphere as these other players. 275 with 16 home runs, 42 RBIs. And then he's also having like a Cy Young caliber year on the mound. 3.3 ERA, 96 strikeouts already. He's in the tops of the league in strikeouts overall. One of the best pitchers in baseball. Top of the league offensively. Is he a top 5 hitter in the game of baseball? I would say no right now. But I think you want to start having top 10, 15 conversation. Shohei's in that, while also being a top pitcher in the game of baseball. Look, you can't get more valuable than that. You just can't. I mean, I've said this before, I'll say it again. The only thing you can possibly do to win the MVP award instead of him is to break the all-time New York Yankees home run record. And milestones like that are going to matter. I think at this point, to win the MVP from Shohei, it's going to be a milestone. Numbers themselves, though astronomical, I think are going to struggle to be more valuable. I think it's going to have to be attached to an all-time milestone to win MVP award. And right now, Shohei's the most valuable player in the league.
There you have it. That's a good list.
That's a good list. Top 5.
Great
I mean,
list.
I knew at some point this list. So top
Was
5
gonna be
BVP.
consistent.
It's the best 5 players in the game of baseball. If the season ended right now, MVP award combining everybody, beginning of the year just to now. Like this is cream rises.
This
as they
is
say.
what you expected. We had some outliers at the beginning of the season, and now it's like 1 through 4. Same.
Matt Chapman was number 1 ahead of Shohei for the first
couple
4
weeks.
But yeah, cream rises to the top. Jordan, Freddie Freeman, Aaron Judge, Ronald Acuna, Shohei Ohtani.
Good stuff. We have an extra innings before we wrap things up. Some really good news. Your guy.
I would say good news, yes.
Yes.
Big news, definitely
Yes.
The New York Yankees, massive signing of the offseason. If you exclude Aaron Judge from being a massive signing, though he technically was.
Yes, he was.
Carlos Rodon has not pitched yet this season after getting that huge contract for the Yankees. He was the big arm that they needed. And, man, it was not looking good. Like, very questionable. Not because of the arm injury that he went down with originally, but just because he was saying, something's wrong with my back, and we don't really know what. Chronic back pain. Indefinite timetable. Well, we saw Carlos Rodon out on the mound at Yankee Stadium. Well, kind of saw him. It was amidst all of the haze that was happening on Wednesday when they didn't end up playing. But
freaky.
You could make out a faint figure in the distance that we were told was Carlos Rodon throwing a simulated game on the mound at Yankee Stadium, which was just good to see. Great to see. He talked after and said to step on the mound and face some hitters. That's a step towards the end goal of pitching here for the boys. So yeah, it was a good step. Yankees need him.
Yeah.
Maybe not like, are the Yankees a playoff team without him? Sure. The Yankees need a Carlos Rodon because I said this before. The Yankees lineup is essentially the same as the lineup that we saw get swept by the Houston Astros. And they weren't even on the same playing field. It was a beatdown. You need another ace of the rotation type guy.
Yep.
And I'm a massive Carlos Rodon guy. I love me some Carlos Rodon, and I want to see him pitching. And we are getting close. Actually, I don't want to put a timetable on it. Not my place. This is a good step towards seeing Carlos Rodon back on the mound for the New York Yankees.
That's fair.
Great extra innings there. I'm a big fan of that one. Big fan of Carlos Rodon. Big fan of Alex's life lessons for me of
Outlook on life.
Dream big,
dream
be
big.
a goldfish. We got a bunch
Short
of good
memory.
Alex-isms today.
Thank you. And good luck to your brother.
Yeah,
And
big
you.
game.
And you
Good luck to
tonight.
me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Justin's in
Breathe.
control of
Remember
his
to
own
breathe.
destiny out there. I'm not. I just have to sit in my own, demise at home. Big game tonight. We will talk all about it in tomorrow's episode of Flippin Bats. But until then, my friends, thank you all for listening. Make sure you subscribe anywhere you listen to your podcast, Apple, Spotify, wherever. We're also on all social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and you can watch everything on YouTube as well at Flippin Bats Pod for all of them. That does it for this Thursday episode, my friends. Until tomorrow,